Many blessings, family. I'm going to be speaking briefly on the Odu Iwori Batropum. It's a very interesting Odu. This is a general philosophy and idea that it teaches us to always have adaptability to change in our environment. Sometimes the environment that we're from, we go to a new country, the customs are different, but we have to adapt and respect the laws of the land and the customs because this is related to a land where Odomila went. It was known as a strange land where everything was against or basically different than how Odomila was brought up into. And he was lost in this island. He needed a way to get out of there. And somehow somebody else who was there before he was, who was a Babalao, noted the Odu Iwori Tropu on the shore to indicate a way for him to be released and to get out of that land. And that's how he was able to escape. In other words, it's always great to learn from the history of others and experiences of others because people that lived before us, they're the ones that have more experience. And you never know. It's always good to try something else and also be guided by our elders and by people who have had that experience in life. The old Iwori Batropung is quite fascinating, quite interesting. It teaches us a divine law that a Babalao who does not study the Odus of Ifa will lose the Ashe from his mind, the Ashe from his speech. And this is known as the Novenario de Ifa, where the Babalao has to have two white candles, give two white candles to Oromila, lit them, and study an Odu per day. And then, after he masters each Odu, he prepares an ileke made out of guacalote seeds and Oromila beads. And after he studies the 256 Odus, he places that ileke with Yemaya, and he wears it when he's not feeling well or if he needs to resolve something. Also, there's a path of Yemaya that wears the nine layers of a dress. The 7 layers of a dress representing the 7 different types of oceans. Is related to an ebo by what Shango had to do to appease Jemaya because the children of Oduduwa, who were 16 in total, 8 of them transitioned because Shango was dabbling with questionable spirits that were not in tune with harmony or in tune with spirit with highly evolved evolution. So it affected his environment and Dudua's children. So to rescue them and save them and restore order from chaos, he had to offer again my specific offering. And the offering in Ifa is very interesting because it's done with the wooden tray. With the tray, half of it is painted with 7 different colors, and Yemaya is placed on top of that tray, and the bowl is performed and fed. So this is quite fascinating because Yemaya shows up here a lot in this Odu Iwori Batropum. It's a quite fascinating Odu in Iwori Batropum. Also, it teaches the importance of a person who wants to become a Babalao to crown first before delving into Ifa, or where the Oshas are appeased and respected before going to Ifa, because there's an extensive long patakin where people did not respect Oromila, people did not respect Osha or the Orishas, and Oya, along with Iku, established the checks and balances where people were affected negatively because the respect to Oromila was not granted and the Orishas were not given respect. And it was a divine law written that says for those that disrespect Oromila and respect Orishas, unfortunately, could lead to negative karma or negative circumstances. And then Oromila felt bad for those people and asked for help. So he did a specific ebo so people could understand. Because sometimes out of ignorance, people may disrespect Oromila. Out of ignorance, people may disrespect Orisha. Or out of ignorance of the divine commandments of Ikafun, they don't understand the taboos or things that the deities do not like. And coincidentally disrespect the Orishas. So this is why Oromila says to grant patience for those that do not know, but those that do know and still fall short, then it's going to be difficult because then it says that's when the law is activated and checks and balances are manifested. The Odu also describes a particular story where there was a man who was about 60 years of age who unfortunately was known to have a lot of money. In a sense, I said unfortunate because burglars basically trying to steal from him, and they held him hostage The elder basically told them from the door, because they were going to break the door in, they couldn't have access to go in. He says the only way you guys can go in is to have a wafakan, or the only way you guys can enter my house if you guys know yourselves. You guys are attacking me out of ignorance of yourselves. You guys have forgotten who you are in your essence. And that's when they understood that who they were talking to was Oromila, which was more valuable than the money he had. And they basically said, what can we do to be initiated into the Hanafifa initiation? And then basically Oromila initiated them. So this shows that money can come and go, but the knowledge of yourself stays and is more valuable than anything one could imagine. The Odu Iwori Otropum is quite fascinating as well, because it once again it talks about where people have done a lot of work and they don't get the credit that they deserve. This is similar to the story of when the ocean will give a boat to Olofin, and people will not see because the water will be evaporated, and through that evaporation, that's how the offering will be given to Olofin. But the rivers and other bodies of water will complain and say that they're doing all the work and the ocean does not. But in reality, Olofin defended the ocean, saying you guys do not see what he does, but he actually has done a lot of great work. So it talks about not everyone needs to see all the great deeds you do. You know, Olofin will always acknowledge it, and those that talk down on you, you know, let them talk down on the great works you're doing. You know, not leaving room to talk anything negative. You know, sometimes these people are hard to please. It's like the story of the donkey and the elderly man in the Shao. When the elderly man in the Shao was walking the donkey, people were like, look how abusive they are towards the donkey, making them walk that long, or making the Shao walk. So to stop that, he put the Shao, you know, on a saddle so that he could ride the donkey. And they're like, look how that Shao disrespecting these elders. The elders walking. So then the elders sat on the saddle and helping the kid. And there's like, look how abusive they are towards the donkey, all that weight on the donkey. So it just shows that no matter what you do, you cannot please everybody. You know what I'm saying? In Spanish we say, no soy una medalla de oro para que le venga todo el mundo. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, and briefly, that's what I want to share with Iwori Batropum. It just talks about a lot of patience, a lot of study, a lot of understanding, you know, and I want to grant you guys my wishes and my blessings to you. It's because I have to work literally in 15 minutes. I have, you know, a lot of work going on, spiritual work, but I wanted to take this window to share a little bit about the Odu Iwori Batropum. Ashe Buru, Ashe Boya, Ashe Boshashe.